Here we go. Back with you on Thursday night, trying to get the digital audio lineup. Verizon is not cooperating at the moment. That's how I actually bring my voice to the network, which is in Pennsylvania, over Verizon, which is fiber optics. Very good, except when it won't connect. It was up and then it went down. All right, now, I have... hold on, I got to get this fixed. There is some extraordinary, I would call it, a lot of people are going to say it's just CGI, but I have some truly amazing footage from Brazil. I ran a story a couple of days ago, 2-3 days ago, about an alleged crash in Brazil. Somebody snuck up there. It's outside of a town, city in the green hills, and anyway, there was a picture of an object. Couldn't make out much. It was daylight, but it was odd looking. Anyway, we got some footage taken at night of this event, which went on for apparently the better part of a day. I got it from Frank Chile, and I'll be putting it up with headlines shortly. It'll be at the very top of headlines. Now, I want you to look at it and just consider it. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not saying it's bogus, but it is really amazing.
I was driving back from Trader Joe's, and it was 2:45, and I flipped the radio on, and it was the last 15 minutes of Rush Limbaugh. Okay, Now, I don't agree with everything Rush says, but I still do listen from time to time.
He's entertaining, if nothing else. Sure.
Well, he is entertaining. He's right about a lot. He's wrong about some, and I don't want the guy to die. I'm sorry that he's as ill as he is, and I really don't think he'll be here that much longer. So I flip him on and I listen. Well, I'll tell you what. I heard him say that he had put General Michael Flynn's website on his website. The very button is there on his website to click on, and you could help him pay these bills that it's like $7 million in
what isn't? That's very good. Wonderful. Wait, Kelleigh.
Okay, now wait a minute.
Yeah, go ahead. You know where I'm going. Go ahead.
Well, let me just tell you, since he got sick, every day I have written to him, and who am I? I'm just a little Midwest flyover gal. Nobody knows Kelleigh Nelson except a few people. Certainly Rush Limbaugh, even though I met him 25 years ago, doesn't remember who Kelleigh Nelson is. So every day I've written to him and I've said, you know what? Mark Levin mentioned this for a half hour on his radio show, and they got over $1 million in donations. How about you, Rush? Just mention it once. That's all we need. Okay, I kept doing this. Well, I was talking to one of Mike's brothers on email, and I said, hey, you would make more of an impact than I do. Put in a subject line, I am Mike's brother, and give your name, and then put in this, please put this Mike Flynn Legal Defense Fund in, on your website, or tell about it. That's all you got to do. So I'm listening to this afternoon, and I'm driving home, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's done it. So I get home, and I call Mike's brother, who we had been talking about this, and we'd been doing it every day for probably 4 to 6 weeks, okay? And I'd been doing it longer, but his brother started doing this. And I said, did you listen today? He said, no, I didn't listen. So I told him, I said, well, go on the website and look. And he did, and he clicked the button, and sure enough, it went to Mike's legal defense page for donations. And I said, call your family and tell them. Tell them. So I waited a little while, and I called Mike. And Mike said, oh, Kelleigh, you're not going to believe what happened. And he said, I didn't know it either because I wasn't listening. But he said within 2 minutes of this guy, of Rush Limbaugh, telling this, they were getting 10,000 hits per minute. And it shut down the page. It shut it down. Fortunately, they've got a couple of really young, great kids who are great with this stuff, and they got it right back up. But they were being blasted, and I said, you know, Mike, if you could get $5 to $7 million and get this bill paid off, because I'll tell you honestly, Sidney Powell, who I think is one fabulous attorney, she's doing this for a song. She's hardly charging them at all. And she needs to be paid because this is coming out of her own pocket. All the work she's done, and she's been magnificent at what she's doing. So Mike said, oh my gosh, I can't believe you even said this to my brother. And I said, well, you know, I should have thought about it a long time ago and had you all doing it. But I didn't. You know, lame as we are, we don't think that far ahead. But it only took a month, and there it was. And God help him. I hope he gets out from under this debt because it's huge. And I would love to see him sue the daylights out of all the people that put him where he's at today, because this is one heck of a great guy. And I just think this is fabulous that Rush did it. I mean, thank you very much, Rush. We needed this.
But what was the total that came from Rush's appeal, approximately?
What do you mean?
Money.
Total?
How much came in? How much was Rush able to raise any funds?
We don't know. We don't know because it just started today, sweetheart. We won't know for probably a week. But I will tell you, with Mark Levin, when he did it for a half hour on his radio program, it was over $1 million.
Good.
That's amazing.
Well, this is really one of the great wrongs of our time, and it has to be corrected. And I certainly hope Trump completely exonerates Michael Flynn. And by all rights, if you're going to bail out some of these mega corporations, let's bail out Mike Flynn. Let's make a right a right.
You're right in a way, but we have never wanted a pardon. We have wanted a dismissal from the very beginning because Mike is innocent. He never lied to parents.
Understood.
See,
Understood.
So okay, here's the bottom line. If it goes through all of this, you know what, with the rest of this crazy, and let me tell you, I know attorneys who have stood in front of Emmett Sullivan, and they have told me personally he is a psychotic. He's a nutcase. There's something wrong with this guy.
Well, he's an affirmative action appointed judge, isn't he?
Well,
you
know who originally put him on the court, don't you?
Was Obama.
No, Obama had nothing to do with him.
Well,
no.
It goes back. Who's it go back to then?
Okay, the original person who put him on the court was Reagan.
Oh my.
Oh yeah.
Oh, my.
And then he was upped one stature by Bush, and then it was Clinton who put him on the federal court.
Well, I read he was an affirmative action appointment from the beginning.
Well, that wouldn't surprise me. Would it surprise you? Doesn't.
Not at all.
Me? No. But the guy is a strange one. He really is, and everything he's done. I am hoping that within another week, this will be over and Mike will be free, because I'm telling you, there is going to be a whole lot of information when Mike is free and clear and can speak.
Oh, ouch.
Boy.
Oh, I'll bet. Talk about artillery. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
And you have, Kelleigh has a a reasonable idea of what some of it may entail, and I won't even push. But when she says that, we listen. This is good. We need such a cleansing of this.
Oh, we
this
do.
Oh, my.
Well, there's a lot of people that have said, well, this is the reason that they went after him, and this is the reason that they went after him, blah, 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 blah. But basically, the bottom line is Mike Flynn knows more about intelligence, and he knows the rot within our 17 intelligence communities, because that includes military as well. Mm-hmm. And they're scared to death of him. That's what the real problem is. They're scared.
That makes me a little concerned for obvious reasons. William Colby being one of them. William Colby, who was getting ready to testify and knew an awful lot. And supposedly got up from his computer at 11 o'clock at night or thereabout, went out into a rainstorm, decided it was a perfect time to go for a canoe paddle, and they found him.
And died. Mm-hmm.
And next day on the upside-down canoe, and come on, they kill people all the time.
Oh, they kill people all the time. You're absolutely right. I think of that fellow Seth. What's his last name? That was murdered.
Oh yeah. The TV chef. What's his name? I can't remember his name.
No, Seth.
Seth Rich.
Yes.
I thought you said chef. TV
Seth.
chef who was killed too.
Yeah, I mean,
in France,
they'll kill anybody, for God's sake.
Yeah. Well, they tried to kill me 5 years ago on April the 24th, and it's been 1 month since then, and 5 years. And I'm okay, but only through divine intervention, and I mean that.
And you watch where you go every day, and you don't take the same.
Nope. No, the same. No. Nope. I don't go the same way, the same time. No. I don't announce where I go. I just, it's totally random.
I know.
I've been followed, and I've they just let me know I'm there, but they're there rather. But it's look. The bottom line is Seth Rich and literally thousands of others, many of which we never hear about, are just removed. They're just gone. How about Deborah Jane Palfrey, the D.C. madam, who swore up and down, said, "I'll never kill myself. If anything happens to me, it's murder." And she went to visit her mom, and they found her hanging in her mother's backyard shed on the inside of the door, up on a hook that she could not have reached. So they just do. You know too much, you die.
Yeah, what about my friend?
Jeffrey Epstein.
See something, say nothing.
Yeah.
Remember? He was murdered a few months ago, shot in the chest, and he was coming out with a new book that was going to be. In fact, I had talked to him 2 years ago, and we were at a big convention together, and he said to me, "What do you think about this title?" I said, "That's fabulous. Do it." His wife had passed away a year ago, and he had met another woman, and like-minded, and they were set to get married, and this next book was coming out, and all of a sudden he's murdered.
Yeah, sure. Epstein, he couldn't. I knew he was going out. Everybody did. He knew too much, and if he wanted to cut a deal, he would have had to talk, and that would have been the end. So he's gone.
Yeah. Well, there's far more about Epstein that we'll never know because he was eliminated.
We'll probably never know. 95% of it we'll never know.
Right. And, actually, there's so much right on top of the surface today, and that's underneath. We'll never get to that. We're just, whatever we hear, whatever we get, we're just at the very top of the surface. This is like an iceberg, and it's huge underneath. We will never see all of this crap because it's so humongous. It's just unbelievable, isn't it?
Couldn't agree more. It's just beyond belief. we who do this professionally, it's overwhelming. I can't even begin to imagine what it must be like for the rank and file people who trying to make a living, trying to feed a family. They have no idea. Yeah.
Look at what's happened to America with this crap that was fed to us by Fauci and Birx and Redfield.
Oh yeah.
Look at what's happened to us.
Yep.
I mean, people. You've got people who 42%. Is the figure that they're saying of small businesses that will not return because they've been totally destroyed.
It's 52%.
52 now? It was 42 only a few days ago.
I think, it's 52% of maybe restaurants that are not coming back, but it is at least 42% of all small businesses are never coming back.
Yeah, isn't that unbelievable?
Yep.
And it has nothing to do with medicine. Nothing.
No.
This is all about control. This is a trial balloon for their totalitarian desires. That's exactly what this is.
Wow.
And the worst part of it is, do you go out into the grocery store, Jeff? Do you go
once in a while, once a week.
Oh, okay. Now, take a guess for me how many people you see who are not wearing masks.
Okay, let me break that down. I went into Walmart, and I think I saw 5 or 6 customers wearing masks and the staff, and that was it. 90%, better than 90% of the customers in the store to purchase were not wearing masks.
You are kidding me.
The other little market I go to, probably 75 to 80% were wearing masks. That's in the same general area. But the Walmart here, no, people just were not wearing masks. I was quite surprised.
Okay. Let me ask you, do you live in an area that's considered liberal or conservative?
The liberal part of the area I live in were the ones wearing the masks. The liberal community.
That's very interesting.
It's odd. Yeah, no, it's odd. It's kind of flipped. But the blue collar area and the Walmart there, no, they were not. They weren't wearing masks.
Good for them. Good for them. Because I live in East Tennessee, which is considered to be a very conservative community. Actually, it's a neocon community of Republicans. Nevertheless, I would say every place I've gone, I'm talking Trader Joe's, Kroger grocery stores, the mall, blah, blah, blah. And I'm telling you, once this stuff opened, I needed things that I didn't have. So I was, bam, out the door, and there I was. And I do not wear these masks because unless you've got an N95 mask, you're wasting your time and you're just making your oxygen at 60% level instead of 100% by putting this crap on your face. Okay. 2%, I'd say, in every single store were without masks. The rest of them were masked up.
Lockstep.
Yep, and now they're even starting into the designer masks that match their nice outfits. I'm telling you what, they want to keep these things on our faces forever. They really do.
They do. No, they do.
And I'm not going to wear one. I'm not putting one on. Number one, it doesn't do you a bloody darn bit of good. And
the only thing it does, Kelleigh, is if you happen to be infected and you want to make sure you don't spew it out, put an N95 on if you have to go anywhere. I agree.
Yeah, well, try to get one.
That's right. Fortunately, I bought mine 10 years ago, so I had some.
Well, that's nice because they're not plentiful today because they're being saved for healthcare workers, and most of the healthcare workers are being laid off because they didn't allow the normal people in that needed surgeries and care, and they everything open. See, so you've got a real situation here where even the healthcare workers are being laid off. They're not being used as they would be in a normal society without this COVID-19 garbage. It's absolutely incredible to me.
Well, when you watch all the mixed messages that are coming out, you saw Dershowitz telling people that they had absolutely no right not to wear a mask and no right not to be vaccinated. They had he's saying that. No legal right not to.
Oh, this is mask Nazi nonsense. This is Nazi nonsense.
I would call it Soviet Stasi nonsense.
Yeah,
it's
Stasi.
Just as bad.
It's a Stasi, sure. Yeah, and you want to put a mark on my arm to tell me that I've been vaccinated?
Well,
and
that's
I'm
what they want. That's what they want to do.
Sure,
that's
absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. We know that the virus is not going to be given a normal type vaccine when they come up with one. It will not be an attenuated virus. It will not be a dead virus. It will be fragments, allegedly, of the DNA of the virus. Genetic fragments, and your body will supposedly read that and build antibodies to defend against the virus from the pieces of DNA you're going to be given. Now, in the vaccine itself will be a laundry list of other potential items that nobody even knows about. They won't be on the warning, the FDA insert. They won't be anywhere. They'll be just little nanotech machines that are going to be put in your body. That's what they want.
Yeah, the SV40 monkey virus given to us for the polio vaccine.
Polio, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had, what did I have? 3 sugar cubes and two jabs. And it was SV40.
It was grown on monkey kidneys, and it gave everybody who took it had an opportunity to get soft tissue cancer. But it not only gave it to the person who took it, it gave it to their descendants. And we now have grandchildren who have SV40 in their bodies and are suffering from soft tissue cancers, including leukemia.
Well, it's one of the great crimes of our time, and they knew it. They knew it was contaminated. Hold on a minute. We're talking with Kelleigh Nelson, and we'll be right back. Okay, and welcome back. Talking with Kelleigh. And so you, how long have you known Mike?
Oh, 4 years.
Yeah. And if I could do anything to help, if you think of anything I can do to help, let me know, and I'll certainly do it. He is respected by an awful lot of really good Americans who understand
he's a great guy.
What's happening. Yeah.
I'll tell you honestly, I've got a 92-year-old friend who has given him maybe $7,000 to $1,000 over a period of time, donated to his. And I was telling him about her, that she's 92 years old and she stays in her house and she's got a bunch of kids and they just bring food to her. And he had already written her a thank you note for one donation, but he said, "Give me your phone number." And I did. And he called her up and he talked to her for a good 10 minutes. Now, now I got another friend who is a SEAL, and he had some major health problems, ended up with open heart surgery. We thought we were going to lose him because he was on a ventilator and dialysis, and we thought, we're going to lose him. We didn't. Prayer, let me tell you, prayer works. And he came through it, and he's home with his wife, and he's recovering slowly but surely. But because we've shared with all of these veterans, we share different emails that are important to them. And he knew who this fellow was because I shared before. And he said, "Give me his address." Well, don't you know, he sat down and wrote this fellow a lovely note. And I talked to this guy today, Jim, and told him what had happened, and he said, "I got the greatest letter from him. It just blew me away." See, this is Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn is an amazing person, and here he is in this mess that's been going on for 3 years, and what's he doing? He's thinking about other people. He's thinking about other veterans. He's thinking about people that have cared for him. He has written so many thank you notes, and it's not typed. It's not repetitious. It's all handwritten notes from Mike, which is an amazing thing. That is a good guy. Yep. So, let me tell you something that I think you ought to get out, that I found, and that is in my recent article. This is departing from Mike Flynn, but my recent article is the snake oil of social distancing, face masks, and contact tracing.
It's under Kelleigh's name and guests. You can click on it right there.
Okay. And I checked both of these, and they're confirmed by the CDC. All right. Which I don't trust. And even Dr. Birx, who I don't care for much, the scarf lady, she said she doesn't trust them, and she said the amount of people that they have said died of COVID is 25% minimal over what has the people that have really died of it. Okay, well,
so they're over-reporting, overstating the figures. None of the figures can be taken to the bank, so to speak. You can't trust them. No.
But even the figures they've reported are very interesting because they say that we have slightly over 2 million confirmed cases globally of this COVID-19, which is very dangerous. I have lost a friend to it, and my niece had it and was in the hospital for 4 days. Okay. But by comparison, according to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, influenza is responsible for up to 1 billion infections annually. Okay, let's just take this last year at the flu's. This is only 3.5 month mark, and the flu usually goes from October through April. Okay? COVID, remember, 2 million cases confirmed globally. Influenza cases confirmed globally in only 3.5 months of the 5-month season. 583 million cases. That is a big freaking difference. Okay, now you want to talk about deaths? Okay, let's take deaths, which are way overdone, because they've said that everybody that dies, even if you were eaten by an alligator, you died of COVID. See, that's the way they've done this. It's all a fear factor. You know that. Okay, the CDC tells us that we have lost 360,000 people from COVID worldwide. 360,000. You know how much we lost of flu this season? 646,000. So, did we shut down the whole economy for the flu every year? We didn't shut it down for H1N1.
Dear Kelleigh, did you see the Russian GRU colonel, the 9-minute interview he did, which was obviously sanctioned, if not encouraged, by Vladimir Putin? The GRU is the Russian Military Intelligence Service. This guy was a career colonel. He's probably near 70. Sharp as a tack. He laid it all out. He said, do not think of this as a pandemic. It is a physical, it's a geopolitical, financial, social operation. You must think of it as an operation. It's an op. And it is. He was right. I'll send you the link if you haven't seen it. It's worth it.
Do that, because there's so many lies out there about this thing, and you realize that in 2009, 2010, Obama declared a national emergency for H1N1. Okay? By God, I don't remember doing anything special. Do you?
No, of course not. All I did special was buy my N95 mask back then. That was it.
I didn't even do that. I didn't even hear about it. I mean, I went about my daily life. I never paid attention to anything. And please, we do not do vaccines in this house, and never will. God willing, they don't hold us down and make us have one. But here's the whole thing. They have lied to us through this whole thing. They're saying COVID-19 is more dangerous. Influenza and other viruses are just as infectious while you're not symptomatic. I mean, you don't know who has the flu out there. Well, they're saying, well, this is a big thing. You know, they can have it for 2 weeks and it's crap. All of this is crap. And they're selling us this line of fear to
it's all predicated on fear. All of it.
Absolutely.
It's all fear-based.
And where does fear come from?
Well, ignorance. How's that? You have the knowledge, you don't fear. You don't have the knowledge, you believe the lies, you fear. Here's something from California. This is a very interesting video that Devvy has seen, and I just got it. It's a person who signed up to be a contact tracer, one of those $22 an hour jobs. Did you see this one? Yeah. All right, well, she mentions, this is from California now. This was a bill, AB 262, in California. The hearing date back on it was passed, I think, June 19th, 2019, a year ago. This was a year ago. So what did the people behind this bill know, and when did they know it? Summary. Requires local health officers during an outbreak of a communicable disease or upon the imminent and proximate threat of a communicable disease outbreak or epidemic that threatens the public's health to notify and update governmental entities within the LHO's jurisdiction as specified and make relevant information available to governmental entities as specified. Now here's the kicker. Gives the state public health officer, the PHO, as director of the Department of Health, broad authority to detect, monitor, and prevent the spread of communicable disease in the state of California, including A, require reporting of communicable disease that the Department of Health, DPH, identifies on timelines and in a manner determined by DPH. Requires reporting. Adopt and enforce regulations requiring strict or modified isolation or quarantine for any of the contagious, infectious, or communicable diseases if the person of Department of Health deems the Department of Health that the action is necessary for the protection of the public. Takes measures that are necessary to ascertain the nature of the disease and prevent its spread, permits DPH to that end if it considers it proper to take possession or control of the body of any living person or the corpse of any deceased person. D, quarantine, isolate, inspect, and disinfect persons, animals, houses, rooms, other property, places, cities, or localities, whenever in its judgment the action is necessary to protect or preserve the public health. And finally, destroy such objects as bedding, carpeting, household goods, furnishings, materials, clothing, or animals when ordinary means of disinfection are considered unsafe and when the property is in its judgment, an imminent menace to public health. So they determine your house is an imminent menace to public health.
Yeah, let's just burn it down.
Same thing. Might as well.
Yep.
So they own your body, they own your home, they can destroy any of it if they deem it to be an imminent menace to public health. That's California. Communist California.
Well, this is very much like Bobby Rush's HR 6666. What a
Thank
nice
you.
number.
Out of Chicago, right? Isn't he Chicago?
Yeah, out of Chicago. And Rush, years back, formed the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party, which tells you everything.
Nobody knows that. you know.
And his bill calls for $100 billion in funding for just 2020, and hiring thousands of government employees and as the new little brown shirts, to run around and do this. Stasi. Anyway, Alex Newman had an article in the New American about this contact tracing, and it was quite telling because he said that under the guise of fighting this virus, governments across the U.S. and beyond are partnering with shady organizations connected to who? Guess who? The Clintons and George Soros. And Chelsea Clinton happens to sit on the board of Partners in Health.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, they're all dirty. They're all dirty.
Together,
I don't care. I don't care. They're all dirty. They're all connected one way or the other. So it's the ruling elite class of, political career criminals, whatever. It's bad. We've lost our country long ago. Sad to say, we don't have a government here.
Okay,
we have caretakers. We have enforcers.
I don't remember what state you're in. I think you're in a state.
Oregon.
Okay, so you're in a state run by the total loon governor.
That's right.
Absolutely crazy. It's a woman, right? She's nuttier than a fruitcake.
Kate Brown.
Yeah, she's a cuckoo. But here's the thing. We've got Republican governors that are all on board with this. Governor Abbott of Texas has said he wants a total of 4,000 tracers for his state. And Washington governor, that's just one state away from you, Jay Inslee, indicated that people who refuse to cooperate with contact tracers or refuse coronavirus testing won't be allowed to leave their homes, even to go to the grocery store or pharmacy.
Good for you for remembering that. Yeah, he's a real comrade, that guy, a commissar.
Isn't that unbelievable?
A Stasi agent. Oh, he's terrible.
Okay,
terrible.
Now, we've got a governor that was just elected in 2016, Governor Bill Lee. He's supposed to be a Christian conservative. Well, guess what? He is on board with this insanity, and he believes he needs to hire 2,000 tracers. So what I said in my last article, I said, every one of you should be finding out what your governor is up to, because bet me every damn governor across these 50 states they're all doing it. They
put 35 million people minimum out of work, and now they're going to offer up to 500,000 jobs as contact tracers around the country, and they'll fill those ranks real quick with new Stasi agents. No problem.
Yeah. Well, it's up to 40 million now. 40 million are out of work. Yeah. But see, they're high. Anybody that's got a brain should figure out that behind this mask of America's freedom is really a whole bunch of Marxist-Leninist politicians that are running things. And we were sold this whole snake oil bit about COVID by WHO, World Health Organization's globalist comrades, Fauci, Birx, and Redfield. And guess who appointed them? Guess who went and found them? Guess who never did one iota of vetting on them?
Never does.
Vice President Mike Pence.
No, he's just
he's another, a weasel.
Of course he is. Another lowlife. We got a lot of them. Debbie Birx, there's a case for you. We also don't want to forget to give equal time to Bill Gates. Right? Debbie Birx,
my God,
and
in
Bill
heaven.
Gates and Fauci. I've been watching Fauci since the early 90s. That guy is just he's a thug. Oh,
of course he is. In fact, in my latest article, there's actually a photograph of him with the rest of the folks that he just loves and adores. And in this photograph, Bill Moyers, Judy Woodruff, Ted Turner, Bill Gates Sr., who sat on the board of Planned Parenthood.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Tom Brokaw, George Soros, David Rockefeller.
Who's who of the new socialists. Yeah.
Yeah. and on and on and on. Barbara Walters, all of them are right there together. And, of course, Fauci standing there smiling. This is who he ran with. And for Vice President Pence to bring, and here they got all their information from who? Well, Dr. Tedros, who is not a physician.
No, he's no medical background.
No, and he is a Marxist-Leninist, and he's a mouthpiece for China. He's the one that told them that we're going to have, in America, 2.2 million deaths. We haven't even come close to that, and it's not because we sheltered, because in New York alone, 66% of the people that stayed in their homes in this sheltering business got COVID.
Got infected. No one wants to talk about that one either. That came and went about one day, that story.
I know.
How can that be? Ask yourself, 2/3 of the people who sheltered, were they all cheating? Were they all sneaking out all day long and getting infected? No, not all of them. But 2/3 of those who were shelter in place, locked down, got infected at home. And no one will talk about it.
No, so, they won't talk about it.
And another thing, you lock people up for 2 or 3 months in their home. Kelleigh, they're not out and about. They're not being exposed to normal bacterial agents and mold, yeast, fungus, you name it. Their immune systems are going to be sitting on their ass.
And
they're
did
weak.
it.
They got nothing. They got nothing going. Yeah.
They did it in the spring when we've been in all winter without vitamin D, and they lock us up during spring so we don't even get vitamin D to go outside. And I kept telling people, go outside in the sun, because that will kill. It will help your immune system.
Yeah, ultraviolet radiation. It's not the heat so much, because it can survive autoclave temperatures, apparently. It's the UV light. Now they're making UV light sterilizers for things. Airports,
they've had that
all
around
kinds
for a
of
while.
offices. Yeah, it works. It works. So, correct.
We've got so many stories on this that are, and look, they're saying, the real hot spot, there's actually a map, and all of it is green except for 2 or 3 cities with a lot of people, congested, like New York City. And those are the only places that had real problems. Well, excuse the daylights out of me, but these governors, they took these COVID patients, and guess where they put them? And
put them right in the old people's home every time.
They put them in the nursing homes, the rehab centers, everywhere.
Assisted
and
care.
Know what's there.
He got a big donation from all the heads of the nursing homes.
He sure as hell did. He sure as hell did.
Andy Cuomo.
And he actually passed a law that made that none of them could get in any trouble.
No liability. He excused them from all liability legally. So,
can you believe this? I mean,
I call it left-handed genocide. You just don't do that.
Sweetheart, it's straight out murder. Yeah. This is straight. He murdered, and you know why? These people are dying anyway. When they're in a nursing home, you're on your last legs. You're dying.
Right.
So you have an immune system that anything comes along. It doesn't have to be COVID. It could be anything comes along and comes in there. I mean, my niece worked in a nursing home, and that's how she got it. And she spent 4 days in the hospital, and she said the worst part of it was that test where they stuck that thing up her nose and touched her brain, and she thought she'd scream her head off. She said that was the worst part. But I'll tell you, honestly, this man and the guy in Pennsylvania and other states, they have killed thousands of people unnecessarily. 5,800 alone that we know of in New York City. Now, you add that to this total death, it's BS. The total deaths were a lot less, but he made more because he sent them there and he murdered the people that were in there. That's what I think. He's a murderer.
There are a lot of deaths out there that didn't have to be, but they were broomed out, they were vacuumed up, they were cleaned up, And you're right.
And you couldn't even get the family in there to go be with their loved ones.
Couldn't say goodbye.
Nope.
No. This is pure evil. It was all planned out. I've sent you the link to the Russian GRU colonel. He says it straight. He just tells who did it, what it's being used for. He says the pandemic is a fraud. Not that the virus is a fraud, or there aren't a lot of infections worldwide, but it's being used. It was contrived to accomplish the op. He said you've got to look at this as an operation, because that's exactly what it is. You look at it, it's very good, very enlightening.
Okay.
And the Russians know.